This is Christopher John Björknes. It is January 26th, 2025. I'm going to explain in the most concise terms possible that Donald Trump is a Kabbalistic Jew in the apocalyptic messianic cult Chabad Lubavitch. He is playing the scripted role of the Christ returned as the antichrist and the prosecutor who has flipped to become the advocate of the Jews. Jesus Christ was Messiah, son of Joseph, of his generation, and he was the prosecutor of the Jews. He scolded the scribes and Pharisees, and he spoke out against the laws of the Torah, and he played the role of prosecuting the Jews and chased the Jews out into the diaspora, forecast the destruction of the temple and the destruction of Judaism. And then the Jews filtered out throughout the world so that they could subvert it. This plan was iterated in the Old Testament. And the Kabbalists made very clear that the Messiah, son of Joseph, that Jesus Christ, would return as the Antichrist. And this was made clear even before Kabbalism came about in the Apocalypse of Abraham and the Gospel of Judas, where it was forecast that Jesus Christ would return as the Antichrist and kill off humanity. And that's the real message even of the book of Revelations in the New Testament. But I'm going to show you where the Kabbalah specifically says that Jesus returns as the Antichrist to flip from being the prosecutor of Israel and serve his role of providing redemption to Israel through a 2,000-year age of Pisces of redemption. And that age is now over, and we are entering the age of Aquarius. And the Christ returns as the Antichrist, this time in the form of Donald J. Trump. Now, the Christ is the scapegoat. He was the sacrificial lamb, and the lamb is a goat lamb, as the book of Exodus makes clear. So Donald Trump is being portrayed as the scapegoat. The goat also represents Samael, the devil. The devil is the scapegoat. The devil is the accuser. The devil is the witness of sin, the accuser of sin, the prosecutor of sin, and the punisher of sin. Now on Yom Kippur, the devil is given a scapegoat, and that confuses the devil, and the devil flips from being the prosecutor of Israel to being the advocate of Israel. The high priest gives the devil a list of all the sins of Israel. In exchange for the scapegoat, the devil then passes all those sins off onto the devil's children, the Gentiles, and the Gentiles get blamed for all the sins of Israel. They are the scapegoat, and they get punished, and the punishment ultimately is extermination. And I'm going to show you all the Kabbalistic literature that proves that beyond any doubt. So we have this from Don Jr. on his Instagram page. He showed a picture of his father looking in the mirror and being portrayed as the goat, as the scapegoat, as Jesus Christ. This is my interpretation of the picture. I'm sure he didn't mean it this way. Of Jesus Christ returned as the Antichrist to kill off all the Christians, just as was foretold in the Apocalypse of Abraham and the Gospel of Judas. And he is also the scapegoat. The Messiah, son of Joseph, is the scapegoat. Jesus Christ was scapegoated and crucified for the sins of Israel. And Donald Trump is going to make sure that all Christians of the Edomite, Amalekite, Roman Christian West are exterminated because they become the scapegoats for the sins of the Jews. These rituals take place at the New Year, on Rosh Hashanah, and on Yom Kippur. We see Don Jr. making the symbol so below. The Star of David, the Magen David, has the symbol above, which which is a triangle that represents the phallus. And then it has the symbol below, which represents the womb. The womb is Shekinah. She is in the womb of darkness, of chaos. She is the earth. She is the moon. So we see Don Jr. making the symbol so below, and he's holding it over the position of the womb to represent Shekinah's womb, and Shekinah taking over the earth through the agency of the Antichrist, Messiah, son of Joseph, the Christ returned as the Antichrist, Donald Trump. And Lara Trump scolded him and just told him to stop doing it, apparently, because it was a little too obvious that this seemed to be some kind of an occult symbol. That's Jared Kushner, who is also involved with Chabad Lubavitch, the messianic apocalyptic cult of Chabad Lubavitch. And he was standing next to his brother-in-law. So Donald J. Trump has been a Kabbalist for quite a while. He was married at one time to a Kabbalist. And in his book, Trump, The Way to the Top, he talks about one day when my Kabbalah teacher, Eitan Yardani, asked how I was doing, I being Trump. Trump has been a Kabbalist for a very long time. Now this is an amazing article by Moshe Idel that I found that vindicated things I had been saying publicly. For 20 years, I had been saying that Jesus is the Messiah, son of Joseph, and that Jesus returns as the Antichrist, and the role of Messiah, son of Joseph, is to be a subversive role. The Christians destroyed ancient Rome, and now we have the Christians destroying the new Rome of America, the Edomite, Amalekite, Christian West. And Donald Trump is at their head, just as Jesus became the head of the Roman Empire and brought about its fall and ruin. So he's going to bring about the fall and the ruin of the Christian, Amalekite, Edomite, Roman Empire of the West. Now, it's important to remember there are two Messiahs. There's Messiah, son of David, who was Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson in the Chabad cult. And then there is Messiah, son of Joseph. And then it's further broken down. There's a Messiah, son of David on the Gentile side and one on the Jewish side. And there's a Messiah, son of David on the son of Joseph, also on the Gentile side. And even though Trump is a Kabbalistic Jew, he portrays that Gentile Messiah, son of Joseph, the Messiah anointed for war, who betrays the West. It leads us into our destruction in the name of Christianity and pursuing Christianity and supposedly saving the West. And then there's the Jewish Messiah, son of Joseph, who is Benjamin Netanyahu, who fights for Israel and brings about the destruction of Iran. And then when he dies, it is time for Messiah, son of David, to be anointed and crowned. And he is to build the third temple and to exterminate the Amalekites. And Benjamin Netanyahu is fulfilling all those roles of Messiah, son of Joseph. And we now have the reestablished troika of Chabadnik Benjamin Netanyahu, Chabadnik Donald Trump, and Chabadnik Vladimir Putin back in power, and they're going to fulfill those roles of anointing King David, the Messiah, son of David, building the third temple to Solomon, and exterminating the Amalekites. And Trump just said that he's considering chasing all of the Amalekites out of Gaza into Jordan and Egypt. And it's a short hop over the Jordan River from the West Bank to Jordan for those Palestinians in the West Bank. That will be the extermination of the Amalekites. Armenians are also being set up to be wiped out once again. And we have Trump playing this scripted role of Messiah, son of Joseph. And as I've been saying, the Christ returns as the Antichrist. And one of the articles of absolute proof is the Sefer HaMashiach, which Moshe Idel analyzed very astutely in his article, The Attitude to Christianity in Sefer HaMashiach. So let's read a little bit of that. Messiah, son of Ephraim, is that Messiah, son of Joseph, in future Christianity will undergo a process of Judaization to stand at Israel's right hand at the time of redemption. This is exactly what has happened with the Christian evangelicals in America, who are Christian Zionists and stand at Israel's right hand to provide them with the ultimate redemption that will bring about the world to come and the Messianic era. So this has been planned for a very long time. The Judaization began long ago. It was considered a heresy by the early Roman Catholic Church. It then became the heresy of the Reformation, and the heresy of the Reformation started to promote the idea of Christian Zionism. And then we had Christian Zionism heavily promoted by stooges working for Israel, given airplanes, and leading Christians to support Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan and George Bush and all the Middle Eastern wars and the destruction of all the Middle East so that Israel could obtain hegemony, so that when Israel began this process of exterminating the Amalekites, wiping out the Palestinians, rebuilding the third temple of Solomon and anointing King David, there'd be no piss and vinegar left in the Muslims to raise any opposition to it, and certainly no military power. And as I predicted, they would take out Syria and they would destroy Lebanon. And they're going to take out the North countries first. Iran has been neutered. They're going to move on Egypt. They're going to move on Saudi Arabia. As I've been saying for 20 years, they're going to construct Greater Israel, the empire of Ramses II, Pharaoh, from the Nile to the Euphrates. And all this is happening now, right on the schedule that I predicted. So we have, in the future, Christianity will undergo a process of Judaization to stand at Israel's right hand at the time of redemption. And this was always scripted as the role of Christianity before Christianity even existed. It's scripted in the book of Job as the Leviathan, and Christianity becomes the Leviathan. This process begins, however, with smashing the power of Christianity. They're trying to destroy the West and pit Russia and the West against one another. In Sefer Hashiv, the course of events is depicted in this manner. By virtue of the power of the great name of 42 letters, I adjure you, even against your will, to have not the power to fly or do anything, or to make any further accusation against the Israelite nation than you have done until now. Again, on Yom Kippur, the Israelites hand Samael, the devil, a list of their sins. Samael, the devil, is the accuser in the heavenly court that takes place on that day. There is a jury of the princes of the 70 nations. Samael is the 71st prince of the 70 nations of the Gentiles. And Shekinah represents the Jews as their advocate, and she is the 72nd. The 70 nations are the 70 generations of Noah, and then Esau and Jacob were born, and Samael represents Esau as the prince of princes of the Gentiles and their guardian angel, but he is treacherous in the same way that Jesus Christ was treacherous, in the same way that Messiah, son of Joseph, Adolf Hitler was treacherous, and in the same way that Messiah, son of Joseph, Donald Trump, is treacherous. They are all using Christianity, pandering to the Christians to get their support, and then utilize that support to benefit Israel and destroy everyone else. And that has always been the role of Messiah, son of Joseph. And Jesus feigned being the prosecutor so that he could win the support of the Gentile world, especially of the Romans and Greeks and the Egyptians. And this now manifests, and to chase the Jews out so that they could serve their role of subverting every nation to the ends of the earth. And now that has all been fulfilled. So now the Christ returns as the antichrist, as in the book of Revelations, to kill everyone off. And that is what Donald Trump is doing. Samael, the devil, the accuser and the prosecutor in the heavenly court, is given this list of all of Israel's sins, and he agrees to pass those sins off onto his own children in exchange for a goat, and blame the Gentiles for all the sins of Israel. That gives Israel redemption. They are cleansed in their sins. The more Gentiles suffer, the more Israel is cleansed. And then the burden of those sins falls on the Gentiles, and the Gentiles get exterminated as punishment for all their anti-Semitism in the 2,000 years of Christianity, which was deliberately created by the Jews of Judea as part of their plan of fulfilling the book of Deuteronomy and the prophecies of Isaiah and Ezekiel and Zechariah and Amos, etc., for the destruction, utter destruction of the Edomites that's foretold in the book of Revelations and the apocalypse of Abraham and the gospel of Judas. I bind you and adjure you that you will have no more power to accuse Israel for all time. So Satan, whose role is to accuse the sinner, is given a list of Israel's sins, but instead accuses Satan's own children, the Gentiles, and punishes them for those sins, prosecutes them and punishes them for those sins. Rather, from this day forward, you will defend the Israelite nation. The Christians flip from the prosecutor to the defender, from the accuser to the defense. So shall you and Rabbi Joseph do, both of you together, and by this you will break the power of Samael, who is Satan, and hasten the redemption in your time. Now, if there were a just process, Israelite would be prosecuted for its own sins and would not be redeemed, and instead would be wiped out. This transition from prosecution to defense is but a reflection of a process occurring with the divinity, a topic treated in Sefer HaMashiach. Know that Esau, that's the Gentiles, is the creation of the supernal Isaac, the Sephirah Gevurah, which is Mars, which is what Elon Musk wants to send us to Gevurah. That's the seat of Samael, the devil, the red planet, the Edomite planet. Gevurah means power, din means severity, punishment, and prosecution. So to rule and guide the world, and he is called Lot and is called Esau. So Esau is the satanic side, and Jacob is the holy side of Israel, even though it is Israel who is sinful and Esau who is pure. When the kingdom is him, he will ascend through the window of the supernal Isaac, receive emanation directly from the Sephirah Gevurah, from the planet Mars. He will be prince over you and will make an accusation against you that you have no right to exist in the world. For Esau is Lot, but will be known by the names Esau when the time for the arrival of the King Messiah. Then will this secret become known, that Esau is none other than wicked Samael. Christians and Europeans especially are considered the devil, the children of the devil through his and her fornication with Eve in the Garden of Eden that created Cain, and Cain's soul is reincarnated as Esau, which was reincarnated as Jesus Christ, and now has been reincarnated as Donald Trump. And during the times of the birth pangs of the Messiah, that's the Chevlei Mashiach, which really ended when Trump took office, because Iran has been neutered, he is named Esau, the Hebrew letters Ain, Shin, Vav. that signify Esau, they made. That is, they coerced him to enter the mystery of supernal covenant of circumcision, for until this day he has yet to descend lower than the mystery of ruddiness, redness. David was ruddy. David also had the blood of Esau. That is the mystery of the Sephirah, Tiferet, beauty, a symbol of the Messiah. Tiferet is the sun. The sexual coupling of Judah with Esau, with the Shekinah. Esau has sex with Shekinah in Yesod on the moon to produce the Messiah, son of Joseph, who is Donald Trump. And his brother Jacob has sex with Shekinah on the moon to produce the Messiah, son of David, which will be the reincarnated soul of Rebbe Schneerson. Is the Sephirah Malkut, which is the earth, who conceives from both brothers. This results in the conception of two Messiahs, the Messiah, son of Ephraim, the Messiah, son of Joseph from Esau, and the Messiah, son of David from Jacob. Several passages in Sefer HaMashiach expressly state that the Messiah, son of Ephraim, the Messiah, son of Joseph, originates not only from Esau, but actually from Samael. In other words, Trump is the devil. Jesus Christ was the devil. That is why Jesus Christ is hung on the cross. The cross is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is called the tree of death in the Zohar, and Jesus is the serpent hanging from that tree on the cross. The mystery of Samael is the mystery of Joseph. That is the mystery of the Messiah, son of Ephraim, who is the Messiah, son of Joseph. At another point in the work, the death of Samael is equated with the death of the Messiah, son of Joseph, and he will kill the Messiah, son of Joseph. That is the mystery of Samael that's supposed to happen during the wars with Iran, with Persia, with King Shiroi. This represents not only the transformation of the prosecutor into an advocate for the defense. The Christians flip from being the prosecutor to the advocate. It was always the plan. This was written in the 1400s, and it was the plan of the original New Testament. This represents not only the transformation of the prosecutor into an advocate for the defense. Donald Trump is an advocate for Israel and scapegoats Gentiles, scapegoats Ukraine for the Chabadnik war on Ukraine, scapegoats the West, wants to fight the anti-Semites and silence anyone who criticizes Israel, and wants to bring American forces into war for the benefit of Israel. But also Samael's active participation in the redemption of Israel. He wants to redeem Israel by exterminating the Amalekites, helping rebuild the temple, and helping establish greater Israel. This conception is of particular interest given the historical background of Sefer HaMashiach. At a time of relentless persecution and forced conversion, the author envisioned an eschatological future when Christianity would be forced to enter the covenant of circumcision and would be transformed into a defender of the Jews. Many states in America mandated under law that little boys had to be circumcised. But the circumcision of Christians means the cutting off of Christianity and the extermination of Christianity, because Gentiles are considered foreskins and have to be exterminated and circumcised out of existence. Christianity, so converted, would finally meet its death. See, this circumcision is death in the war, whose outcome will pave the way for the complete redemption of Israel. And Donald Trump is our deceptive, subversive Messiah, son of Joseph. Jesus Christ returned as the Antichrist to bring us into death and extermination in order to complete the redemption of Israel. I have been warning the world about this for 20 years, nonstop, every day of my life. Please take this very seriously. We are on the brink of being exterminated. I am showing you the absolute proof. I have been talking about exactly this for 20 years. They are silencing me. They are shadow banning me. They are deboosting me. I need your help to get the word out about this. And we have to stop just analyzing things and start taking physical actions in the real world to preserve a remnant, because the masses simply cannot understand what I'm explaining and will not survive this unless Providence takes a hand and helps us all out. Christianity transformed into a defender of the Jews, as has happened with the Christian evangelicals, with the Catholic Church, etc., with Vladimir Putin. Christianity so converted would finally meet its death in a war whose outcome will pave the way for the complete redemption of Israel. The Christians mock the Jews for waiting for a Messiah that in their belief has already come. That was the Messiah, son of Joseph, who was reincarnated until Messiah, son of David, is anointed and crowned and coronated, and the third temple is constructed, and the Amalekites are exterminated, meaning us. This doctrine appears to be an ironic interpretation of the Christian claim that the Messiah has already come. Indeed, the Messiah has come, the Messiah, son of Joseph. That is Christianity, to pave the way for the Messiah, Jewish Messiah, son of David. That's the role of the antichrist, of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu. Perhaps this is not the meaning of the claim. Perhaps this is the meaning of the claim of Sefer HaMashiach. So here you see, this is Messiah, son of David, Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson. His soul will be reincarnated into the Ashkenazi Messiah, son of David. The Sephardics have their own. This is the Gentile Esau Messiah, son of Joseph. Benjamin Netanyahu is the Jewish Messiah, son of Joseph. Benjamin Netanyahu spoke directly to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe issued a prophecy that he would be the last prime minister of Israel, and then the real Messiah, Messiah, son of David, the reincarnation of Rebbe Schneerson, would appear. And Schneerson was hoping it was in his lifetime and kept chastising Netanyahu to get busy because the Messiah hadn't arrived yet, meaning himself. This is Trump praying at the Rebbe's grave. I'm the only one who's pointing out the fact that when Trump prays, he prays like a Jew. He rocks and turns from side to side the way the Jews do, and he rocks back and forth the way the Jews do. He has been taught to pray like a Jew. Watch him whenever prayers are being given. He starts to pray like a Jew because he is a Jew, and he is a Kabbalistic Chabadnik Jew. He is part of the Messianic apocalyptic cult of Chabad Lubavitch, who is setting up to exterminate all of the Gentiles, especially the Europeans, because they are blamed as being the Romans who destroyed the temple and sent the Jews into the diaspora, where they were prosecuted and punished by the Christians. But all that has flipped now at the time of the redemption, and the Christians have become their advocate, suicidally so, because Trump is that treacherous Samael. He is the scapegoat, and he is going to scapegoat Gentiles for all their anti-Semitism and for trying to preserve themselves against the onslaught and the exterminatory attack which is being waged against us. And we get scapegoated for all the sins of Israel. Hamas and the Palestinians are being scapegoated for the extermination of the Palestinian people. They are blaming the victim. They are passing off their sins, and the punishment for those sins becomes death and extermination. And the West, the entire West, will likewise be scapegoated and punished for all the sins of Israel, including the very sins of seeking to exterminate the West. The West will be scapegoated for those sins by their father, by Samael, by the goat Satan, who is Donald Trump. He is both the scapegoat and the goat Samael. And he's setting up to wipe us all out because he is treacherous, in the same way that Jesus Christ set up the Roman Empire and the West to be destroyed by abandoning the supernatural protection of their gods, by abandoning Apollo and Ra and Zeus and Jove and Jupiter, and instead worshiping Satan, Jesus Christ, whose role is to come back and kill us all. And that role is being filled by Donald Trump, Messiah, son of Joseph, the Christ returned as the Antichrist. As I've been saying for 20 years, this is all laid out in the Zohar. This is from the Zohar in the section on Leviticus, folio 102a. And again, I've been quoting this for 20 years, trying to warn you. Please listen. This spells death, death for everyone, complete destruction, elimination. There will be no offspring that bear our DNA. There will be no coming generations. This is the end. Rabbi Isaac said, "Give the fool who stands before the king some wine and tell him all the faults and errors that thou hast committed." This is Israel telling Samael all their sins, so there will be a prosecution. And he will come and praise thee and say that there is not another in the world like thee, because they gave the fool some wine, gave the king some wine. He becomes their advocate, even though the fool is being falsely accused and prosecuted in the place of the guilty. And that's what happens to the Gentiles. Samael is given the scapegoat. He's also given a list of Israel's sins. And in exchange for the scapegoat, which confuses them, he accuses his own children, the Gentiles, in Israel's place, in the heavenly court, and they are found guilty and they are sentenced to extermination. So here the informer is ever before the king, and Israel present him with a gift, the scapegoat, along with a list of all the faults and wrongs which they have done. And he comes and praises Israel, he the devil, and becomes their defender. Christianity, the devil, Samael, Jesus Christ, becomes Israel's defender, and God puts all on the head of the wicked of his own people, his being the devil's own people, being the Gentiles, being the Christians, being the West, the New Rome. Said Rabbi Odysee, "Woe to the people of Esau at the time when Israel send that he-goat, the scapegoat, Jesus Christ, Donald Trump, to the informer who is their chieftain." Samael is the prince of princes of the Goyim, the nations, and he is the guardian angel of the nations. And his job is to protect his children. But in exchange for that wine, for that mere goat, he betrays them and lays all the sins of Israel on their head, condemning them to extermination. Since for its sake he comes and praises Israel, as Donald Trump does, and God diverts all those sins onto the head of Satan's people, his people. So the Gentiles become punished for the sins of Israel. Said Rabbi Judah, "If the heathen knew of that he-goat, the scapegoat, Donald Trump, they would not leave Israel alive a single day. That is why all of this has been kept hidden until I revealed it. They are terrified that you will learn of what I'm explaining right now. I'm the only one in the world who came out with this. It is vitally important for you all to understand this. This scapegoating is meant to exterminate us. And it's such a threat to them that if you come to learn this, they are concerned that you will try to turn the tables on them. And that's not what I'm after, but that's what they fear, because they know that what they're doing is so heinous that if you realize that they are out to completely exterminate every one of us, you will try to defend yourselves and turn the tables on them. All that day, Satan is occupied with that goat, and therefore God makes his atonement for Israel and purifies them from all their sins, and they are not accused before him. No, the accuser becomes their defender and accuses his own children, the Goyim, the nations, the Gentiles. Afterwards, the Satan comes and praises Israel, and the accuser becomes defender and departs. The accuser, Jesus Christ, returns as the antichrist, defends Israel, and prosecutes us and sends us to hell in their place for their sins. Then God says to the 70 chiefs, those are the princes of the 70 nations that surround his throne, do you see how this informer is always seeking to attack my sons? God's sons are the Jews, the Israelites. Gentiles aren't the sons of God, they're the sons of Samael, of Satan. Gentiles are the lot of Satan. Jacob and the Jews are God's lot. They accuse us of being satanic, and themselves they declare are holy. Not only holy, but the literal bloodline of God. And we are supposedly literal, the bloodline of Samael, of Satan. That treacherous bastard, Donald Trump. A certain goat has been sent to him with a tablet recording all their sins and errors, which they have committed before me, and he has accepted it, he the devil. Then they all agree that those sins should be discharged on the head of his own people, discharged on the Gentiles. The Israelite sins are placed on the necks of the Gentiles, so that when we're found guilty of that, we're sentenced to extermination. Rabbi Abba said, at first all those sins cleave to him, and afterwards they are discharged upon the head of his people. They will cleave to Donald Trump. America is being blamed for everything that Israel does. He's passing off all the sins of Israel onto the Edomite, Amalekite, Christian Rome of the West. And we're all going to be blamed and scapegoated for it and killed by the behemoth killing the Leviathan of the West. Of the East, they want the Chinese to kill us. And in the process, they want us to kill the Chinese and the Russians and the Muslims, so that the whole world is destroyed in a battle of mutually assured destruction between East and West, Leviathan and Behemoth, the Atlanticist and the Eurasianists. And we see Alexander Dugin has been championing this in those exact terms since the 90s. On this day, the priest is crowned with superior crowns and stands between heavenly and earthly beings and makes atonement for himself and his house and the priests and the sanctuary of all Israel. We have learned that at the moment when he enters with the blood of the bullock, he concentrates his thoughts on the highest principles of faith and sprinkles with his finger as it is written, and he shall sprinkle it upon the mercy seat. And before the mercy seat, he used to dip the finger in the blood and sprinkle. Lower each time at the side of the mercy seat, he began to count one, the first one by himself, one being the sum of all, the glory of all, the goal of all, the Holy One. Very like things are said in the same volume of the Zohar on Leviticus. We have learned that the side of the mother, there are two emissaries attached to her left hand who roam about the world to spy it out. Now, Israel are God's portion. They're the children of God and are holy. The Gentiles are the lot and portion of Samael and the children of Samael. And from his great love for them, he gave them one day in the year to cleanse and purify them from all their sins by passing their sins, the Israelite sins, onto the Gentiles. And therefore, on this day, they are crowned and are safe from all executioners and all hostile emissaries. That is what Donald Trump is doing to safeguard Israel with the might of the American military. It is written that Aaron shall cast lots upon the two he-goats. This is Yom Kippur in Leviticus 16. Why is one of these for the Lord? Because the Lord said, let one abide by me and the other roam about the world for. If there were two combined, the world would not be able to stand against them. The second one, therefore, goes forth, and when he finds Israel absorbed in religious service and pious deeds, and all at peace with one another, he can see no opportunity to bring a charge against him. We have learned that there are many demons under his control, whose office it is to spy out the earth. That's what they're going to do with AI robots and drones and surveillance cameras watching us all the time, tempting us to sin with pornography and all other kinds of degenerate garbage, then witnessing it, accusing us, prosecuting us, and then punishing us, who transgress the commands of the law. But on that day, there is no opening for any accusation against Israel, because Samael accepts the scapegoat. When that he-goat reaches the rock of Azazel, of Samael, there is great rejoicing, and the emissary who went forth to accuse returns and declares the praises of Israel, the accuser becoming the defender, the Christian who prosecuted and accused the Jews now becoming their defender and prosecuting and accusing themselves suicidally, so that we are all killed off. And not only on this day, but whenever Israel desire to be cleansed of their sins, God shows them how to restrain the accusers by means of the offerings which are brought before the Holy One, blessed be he. And then they cannot harm. They give him the goat. That's why Trump is portrayed as the goat. That's why Jesus is the sacrificial goat lamb. But this one day is more efficacious than all. And just as Israel appeased all below, remember that symbol, so below, that Don Jr. was flashing, so all those who have accusations to bring above are appeased, though all the service is to the Holy One. We have learned that at that hour of which it is written that Aaron should take two he-goats, all those accusers above rouse themselves and seek to go forth into the world. And when Aaron brings near, those below and those above are also brought near. The lots are then produced for both sides. And as the priest casts lots below for the priest casts lots above, and just as below one is left for the Holy One, and one is thrust out into the wilderness and pushed off a cliff, so above one remains for the Holy One, blessed be he, and one force goes forth into the supernal wilderness. So the two are connected. It is written later, the two being connected, being the scapegoat given to the devil, Samael, and the scapegoat being given to the Lord. So look at all the symbolism which is appearing. We have Messiah, son of David, going to be crowned and anointed through the agency of Messiah, son of Joseph. Donald Trump is a Kabbalistic Jew who worships Messiah, son of David, as God incarnate, who prays like a Jew before the Wailing Wall, who covers his head like a Jew, who studies Kabbalah, and who is the goat of Satan and the scapegoat for all the sins of Israel, who passes them off onto America and the West, so that the whole world blames America for what Israel and Jews are doing and seeks to exterminate us, so that the sins of Israel are cleansed through our blood as a sacrificial offering to Satan. And Donald Trump, with his as below symbol, with Jared Kushner, his brother-in-law, the big-time Chabadnik. Please, finally, start to pay attention to what I am teaching you. This is death, ultimate death, complete extermination. They are setting up the apocalyptic battle of Gog and Magog between East and West, the Leviathan and the Behemoth, the Eurasianists and the Atlanticists. Donald Trump is playing a key role in this. They want to bring the whole world against us. He wants to destroy NATO. He's backstabbing Ukraine. He wants to take at the Arctic, to construct the subterranean Garden of Eden for the Jews, and to use as a Siberian gulag for European peoples. This is serious stuff. Everything I predicted has happened. I told you about the Chevlei Mashiach, the birth pains of the Messiah, before they happened. I told you when they would happen. I told you precisely exactly what would happen, and it all did exactly as I foretold. I foretold all of this 20 years ago, and I'm telling you now, if we don't act to save ourselves, this signifies our ultimate extermination. I want to thank everyone who helped make this possible through giving me contributions. I want to thank some of them generous, wonderful contributions. Richard Willett had me on and post stuff on Iconic, and many people responded to that and contributed. And I want to thank those new contributors as well as my longtime contributors. I can't do this without you. I'm deeply, deeply grateful to you. I also want to thank Milou Emmy, who brought my attention to this image, which I was then able to find on Instagram, that Donald J. Trump Jr. had posted of Trump looking at a goat. And if you would like to contribute, you can do so at my website, cjbbooks.com. You'll find all my books there, as well as links to contribute if you would like. I'm very grateful to those of you who have contributed. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to everyone for watching, and I will see all you wonderful people next time. Please take this seriously. The continued existence of human DNA depends upon this, and they are corrupting it and destroying us, and ensuring that we don't have future generations in every way possible. And they are doing it in ways they believe are impossible to detect. And that is why they said that if they only knew, Israel would not remain another day. Now you know. Goodbye for now, and I'll see you all next time.